Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you especially to the members of the UK SmartTalks user groups for inviting me. And also thank you for keeping these meetings going, because since the pandemic started, this has become the only way to actually find each other and learn what we are doing. I hope this is not going to be a definitive situation, but and we can share a beer in a real place eventually. But for the moment, this is working. It's working very well. So I thank you. I thank you very much to Giovanni and team and the other members that I don't know, but that are organizing. So as Giovanni said, this is not a seminar, so everybody can ask everything. And in fact, in the spirit of that, I prepare very few slides, which is good because my intention is to show what is going on in Pharo 9, what is new and what you can expect in this release. I hope this is going to be well, but okay, let's start. Just another thing. I'm going to start sharing my screen. I hope it's okay. I'm dropping this here so it does not distract me. And okay, one thing that I have to clarify is that I moved to Linux last year, in fact, as an effort of the team to try different operating systems for Pharo, to make sure that that we use all the platforms that are available, so we can catch the problems on that. I'm glad to say that Linux works, that Pharo works very fine in Linux, but what does not work very fine is the Zoom client. So, for example, I was not able to use LibreOffice to display these slides, because when I'm displaying them, the Zoom client crashes. So I have a PDF, and there are just so few. So that's not going to be a problem, I hope. Pharo 9, meeting the 21st century is how I call this small presentation, because I think that's what we are doing, and you will see later. Let's start for the beginning, who I am, because probably there are people that does not know it, even if I'm very jelly in the Discord channel, but okay, not everybody is there. So I'm Argentinian. I work for the Pharo consortium since 2018, but I'm the Pharo architect, if that term means something, since 2012. And right back in 2008, I started a small company just to develop in Pharo, which was born there. So I can say, but I will not read all the rest because it doesn't matter. I have a very large experience. I'm working since 28 years. And the cool part of this slide is that I just have to change the 28, each year I just have to change this, the 28, and next year it will be 29 and that, but I pretend to be here a lot of years, so we will see where it arrives, that number. But I was saying, I'm here since the beginning, even if it are not part of the core team since the beginning. And I have worked a lot with Pharo. So that kind of put me in the position of later take care of the releases of Pharo, which is what I do. And then what is Pharo? Because again, not everybody has to know this. And this is, I took this phrase from the Pharo consortium page. It's interesting because most people has remarked the first sentence to be in agreement or in disagreement, which Pharo goals is to deliver a clean, innovative, free, open source Smalltalk inspired environment. And that tiny word inspired has created a lot of arguing in our community. But for me, it's more interesting the other part. Our goal is to provide a stable and small core, excellent dev tools, and maintain release, and particularly the last part. Pharo is an attractive platform to build and deploy mission critical Smalltalk applications. Why is this important? Because our goals are very ambitious. We want to create a Smalltalk system, an environment that is suitable to develop business. In fact, Steph used to have a slide that I love it, that was Pharo is an environment where business can bloom. And we try to keep that. And you will see that many of our decisions are in fact taken due this part. Then we can argue the first part, is Smalltalk or is Smalltalk inspired, but that's not really important. The important part is that we are taking our inheritance very proudly, and we are trying to deliver with this a really modern environment that is good to develop modern applications. And this is important to say also because I think always that programming in general, and programming a language or an environment as it is Pharo, is always like, I don't know if you know this book of Lewis Carroll, Through the Looking Glass, where Alice is asking with the queen, and the queen says, hey, to stay in the same place, you have to run. And if you want to move further, you have to run twice as fast. And this is what we have now. Each time we have something that we consider mature and stable and state of the art, in fact, the world moves and we suddenly are old and maybe obsolete, and then we have to keep moving. And that's what we do. We keep moving, in part trying to catch up with what happened in the world, and in other part trying to build better ways to catch up, better and more elegant ways to catch up. So well, that's Pharo. And Pharo is sustained for a consortium of engineers. I'm going to close my mail because there are going to arrive several things. Okay, I was saying, Pharo is sustained by a consortium of organizations. Not all of them are enterprises, but many, most of them, but not all, that are interested in the development of Pharo for different reasons. Most of them use it for the development. Others just are betting in the future of Pharo, and they are helping us because the other work that Pharo does, the Pharo Consortium does, is to work with academic institutions too. There are many that we don't know that work with Pharo, but the ones that we know are listed too. To help them to teach Pharo in the universities. And why this is important? Because if we do not teach Pharo or we do not teach Smalltalk, there will be less and less programmers, as you all know. Everybody always says, what happens with Argentina? that there are so many Smalltalk programmers. Well, what happens, in fact, is that there are a lot of universities that teach it. There are a lot of good teachers that that use it to teach programming. And then, yes, people knows Smalltalk when they see it, and it's not something alien. So, well, maybe you want to consider to join to the consortium to help us to keep Smalltalk rolling. And then, if as an individual, if you want to contribute, we have also the Pharo Association, which is just so individuals can have also an impact. We use the resources that are channeled from the Pharo Association to keep our servers running, for example. So it is not unimportant, it's very important. So that's as an introduction. And then, well, let's start talking of Pharo 9. Pharo 9, of course, it comes after Pharo 8. So it's not just something in the beginning. Is an iteration in an already mature environment, but with different conditions. What you are seeing now is what I call the simplified roadmap, because it's kind of a modification of the roadmap that we did 1 year and a couple of months ago when we started the development of Pharo 9. And we decided to move all in a steady effort that will not be just Pharo 9. It will take a couple of iterations more to move all our tools into just a single framework, because we were in the road to deprecate Morphic and switch it for other backends. In particular, we had in mind Block, which is a vectorial backend that is being in development since some years now, and is starting to have some maturity. And why we want to do that, I'm going to talk later. And then we have always our enhancement language objectives. Part of that was the adoption of Sista, which is an adaptive compiler. But this is a long-term roadmap. So we took from Pharo 9 what we could do in this iteration, preparing that, and different things that I'm going to talk a little bit later. Then we needed to enhance our support for large images, because it's not the same saying that since we are in 64 bits, we can have large images, and in fact having tools that supports that. It's not the same, and we need to work there. And then we have a lot of work in the VM that we have there. So I'm going to also add that this is a simplified roadmap, because in fact we have hundreds of elements that we put in a release, but it's impossible to talk about all of them. I'm just stressing the ones that I think are the more important to show you today, and that is going to have the larger impact in how you develop, if you want. So some numbers on Pharo 9. Since I cannot talk about everything that we have, I can say more or less where we are. In fact, we have, since we start, we have more than 1,000 issues and almost 2,000 pull requests closed. That does not mean that everything is in the image. Sometimes you close something that does not apply, or you have some iterations in the same thing and that, but it's a huge amount of work. And you can see that there are 242 forks. That means that there is a large number of people that contribute. Sometimes they contribute when some small thing, which is a start, and then they continue contributing or not. They contribute the next version or not. Sometimes you have people like Torsten that that contributes a lot in things that are very small improvements that at the moment, if you see, you have a huge trunk of changes that created a huge impact in the quality of the software that we are producing. So we have also outside what is technical, a lot of effort put in education, as I say. We do not have to underestimate the value of education. We have a MOOC that was made by Steph, Luc, and Demian, and the MOOC is now it has received more than 10,000 registrations, and there are several thousands that have finished. I do not have the right number. That's what I did. Put it there, but it is seen, and we are seeing constantly the stream of people that are integrating our community because of this MOOC. And then since Steph is like a machine of writing and doing stuff, we have a lot of books and booklets that are continuing improving, and they are freely available there. Also, we have a community that now has almost 3,000 people registered in the Discord server, but of course not all of them remain, but many. When I took this, it was not a very populated moment. I have seen more than 700 online at the same time, but there are almost 400 online all the time, which is not bad. And we have, of course, created newbie channels to help people, and now we started to have also language-specific channels. So people that does not are fluent in English or have a strong accent like myself, they can hang in their own language. We create this on demand, so we do not have many right now, but we have Spanish, of course, French, and well, 3 more that I don't know what they are, but they have some movements. And we, of course, we have still the list, which somehow they stagnated a little bit since most of the movement are in Discord now. But this is how we are now in Pharo 9. And now I just have to say, let's see Pharo 9 in action, because this is why we are here. So let's start by the beginning. The beginning is the new tools. Why is the beginning? Because it's what you are going to see immediately. So, okay, we have this. The easiest way of running Pharo, in fact, is going to the download page in the Pharo web page and download the Pharo launcher and launch it. If you launch it, it runs in most, but of course in Windows and Mac it runs out of the box, and most of the Linux distributions too. We are going to improve even more, but for now it works. For example, right now I have a Manjaro here, and you see it works. And when you execute it, you will see more or less something like this. You can create your image and you can launch it. We have, it opened it in the other monitor. So right here, as I see, the first thing that is important to stress in Pharo 9 is the launcher. The launcher took a lot of improvements since there. Now you can control a lot more the VMs, because we have different kinds of VMs. We have a headless VM that I'm going to talk later, and maybe you want to use it, and you want to have different images for different architectures, like 64 or 32. I do not recommend it because we are deprecating we have already deprecated the 32 bits VM, but okay, you might have it. And it's a good way to organize your things. But okay, so when you open a Pharo 9, you will see more or less this. Now, and uh, most of you already know this, but okay, you can change your temp here and that. This is not a huge, very intrusive dialogue, because in fact, people tends to use a lot of images. If each time they have to show a configuration dialog is kind of annoying, but they have the few configuration things that we have, you can see it here. So I'm going to close it, and then the first thing that changed here is if I press Shift Enter, you will see the new spotter. The new spotter is kind of the same as before. There is not much things to show. It's very interesting that now we show by default the preview. Why? Because people, especially newcomers, they want to see something there. Of course, the declaration of the class is not particularly interesting, but if you start to have windows, as for example, let's open this and that, then you can have you can see a preview of the window, and you can choose it better, because as any small programmer knows, we tend to have a lot of browsers open, and a lot of other stuff open. So this is interesting, and of course in settings you can disable if you do not want it, but I think that for newcomers this is interesting. And then all the other cool things that the old spotter has, because in fact we use the same backend. I love spotter, and Mariano, that I saw it is around here. We have a long story for this tool, because we started in love with a tool that was available in the early versions of Pharo, which was the Algernon, and then we did something very, very small that was opening something that I call the Spotlight, that in fact it was a completion with a field text, but that was helping you to choose things. And then Doru made the first version of the spotter, and here we are. Now this is the new iteration, and it's kind of okay. There is not much things to show. Of course, another interesting thing for newcomers is that the menus have their help there and that, but not much more than that. So let's start opening a playground, which is also a new kid in the block. The new playground you will see is this one. The new playground has almost the same features, because there is not so much that you can do with a workspace playground or whatever you wanted, but they have some look and feel things better, like showing the line numbers that you can toggle or that. But this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is something that you can do now, something like this. Of course, you know this, everybody can do this and see. No, but now you can come here, choose bindings, and you can make bindings share. And then if we open another playground, as you have here, you have it shared. So this is, of course, you can think it's a stupid addition, but it's super interesting to be able to take a variable and continue working in another place when it becomes necessary to split it, when you are scripting stuff. So I think this is a real good thing. And then the other thing that we have is that now we have the pages here. Pages is that the playground keeps a version keeps the page, the text the code you are working with in an external file that you will be able to query later and reuse it. But this is cool because it's easier to find things like this than the old way, which because the old playground was doing that also, but it was kind of confusing because you needed the spotter to find it, and otherwise they have a list at the side, but it was always hard, at least for me and for the people that I talk about. But this is not just the only one. For example, let's do some stupid stuff like this. What happens is that you can work on this and eventually you want to go into an older version. Of course, this is a stupid example, but imagine that you delete something that you do not want to delete by error. So this is something that is kind of fresh because in fact I pushed it to the image today, this morning, but this is because some people have lost it, and I saw that it was interesting to integrate it with the PCA. It has different versions, so you are keeping all the versions that you have, and you can switch back there. And it works more or less like the versions in the message browser, the method versions, because in fact we use the same backend. We use Sombu, which is the backend that uses a PCA to recover your changes. So right now, this is kind of the new playground. And from the new playground, we go to, let me see, in my script, what we have now, we will show the new inspector. The new inspector is kind of, again, the same. Let me take an example that I want to use. I want to show something because, okay, just this one is okay. Now, let's execute this. If I execute it, since it's a sample instance, it's going to open an inspector here, and this is the new inspector. The new inspector also looks almost like the old one, but it has some interesting new features. The first thing that you will see is that it has this that we don't have for the moment, a better icon, but we will have later, that provides you what we call object-centric inspection. That means that you can put different halts and breakpoints and stuff in the access of the instance and not the class, which is very cool because you can halt when someone reads it. But I think the most interesting thing to show is, for example, let me see this. Let me show you this. Let's look for the presenter. We have a presenter, that we have an adapter, and at the end, we have a table morph, which shows this, as you can see. But the first thing you can see that this is kind of the same as before. You can do the same. Now you have squares instead of dots, not just because I like them more, but because in the future we can do more things with some square, because not in this version, but we're thinking in the future, for example, having the possibility of declare sizes of the panes of the inspector, and then the pager, the paginator will show accordingly and things like that. But well, thing is, this is a table morph, which thinks is the composite element that is made everywhere here is used everywhere in Pharo. In every tool that you have a list, you have a table morph. And then if we come here, for example, and something that will show you, let me see. Let's see here, I filter here, let me hold on call, sorry. And then here doesn't happen, nothing happens, but if I come here, I have my breakpoint here. You will say that this is a small change, but this is huge. This is very, very huge. That means that you can inspect, you can put holes in parts that are in use in your system, and your system will not break in the moment. So for us, it's a very, very important changes. And this introduces us to the other thing that I can show you now, which is the new debugger. The new debugger is just kind of a regular debugger, as you can see, but it's made in the same spirit, and it implements some stuff that are not present in other debuggers, which is this in advanced step. And you see the bomb, and today Esteban, which was the person, which is the person that is developing all of this, they say the bomb is not there by error. It's a bomb because this is still experimental and it can fail, but most of the time it's working. And you have some ways to step there different that are very interesting. For example, the next time someone calls the receiver where you are, there is a call like self do something, then the next call to this class, for example, if you are in a visitor and you go to another place that you are visiting, that's going to be fine. And the next time that there is an instance creation, that you are creating an object there. They are experimental, but they are very good to use. And the other thing that you can activate now is, I'm going to close it and I'm going to open the settings browser, is the extensions. So you have the debugger extensions. For now, I do not have any activated. For example, you can activate this, that is the bytecode. And then the next time I have a bytecode debugger here that I, of course, pass here. I lost the stack here because I went out of the stack and that. So, but it's there. And then finally, the other thing that you can do with this is to come back here and you can disable without removing the breakpoint, and you will continue working fine. So this is the new tools that we have implemented now, and this is a replacement for the Glamour tools, the GT toolkit that we had before. Why we are replacing this first? Because we have a lot of other tools that are made with spec 1 or are made different in Morphic. Well, because we need to clean up a little bit of the image, and in the image now we have 3 frameworks that are doing overlapping stuff. The first one is spec 2, which is what we are using now. The other is spec 1, which is deprecated, but this is still there, but because we still have some tools there. And finally, Glamour. Glamour, it was a neat idea. We loved it at the beginning. That's why we integrated it. But with the time, it became hard to maintain, and we decided to have just one. And then when we decided, we needed to decide, we figured out that the spec was better suitable for what we wanted to do. And then we just needed to keep one. And this is the new tools now. The next days, I'm going to start to remove the old GT tools so that, of course, they are going to be available. They're going to be available for loading and for the ones that still wants them. But then this is it. So until now, questions, because this is the new tools. I'm willing to go to the next point, but no questions? Okay, I'm going to show a couple of small things that are very, very, very cool before going to the next big stuff. Arturo Zambrano asked if Glamour is going to be completely removed in Pharo 9. Yes. Glamour is going to be removed. But as always, some things that I always say that we are going to remove it from the image doesn't mean that people cannot load it again if they want it. It's going to be there. If people want to use it, they can load it. What we are going to do is not including it in the image, in the release image. So one thing that is very good to show is the new class building, the new class builder that we call the fluid class builder, and you are seeing it there. What's the idea? The idea is that instead of having thousands of methods for the different combinations that we have for creating a class, now you have a builder, something that is a builder. The other thing that is interesting is that even if this is completely executable Pharo code, it is not for installing, it uses a special parser. Why? Because of security reasons. And the possibility of doing analysis also. Because like this, with this special parser, you can do some AST things, and then you can do stuff that I not complete in the deep of this, but it's very important to be able to also have a parser, a particular parser for it. Even if it is this is still code that you can execute all the time. That's very cool. Other thing that is very cool is this. We have now something that we call microdown, which is our own implementation of Markdown, which is, it understands Markdown, but it extends it in some ways that, for example, you can do some annotations on that, or you can put links to the inner image like this, and you can have very cool class comments that explains better what they do, and you can do things like this. Well, that's a glitch, but okay. And you can execute code here and that, as always, but this is very good to have it. And you have some help from the syntax. As you see, it's mostly Markdown, but it allows some extensions, basically. The idea of this is to move all the documentation of Pharo with this, not just the internal, but also the external, because the idea that will not happen in Pharo 9, but it happened in Pharo 10 is that the documentation, not the class comments and that, of course, but the documentation will be what now is in the Help browser and now is spread in a lot of places, different places, will be concentrated in a browser that's going to point to external places. Why? Because we don't think that it has to be inside the image or that, and because then you can have some things to update the documentation and that later. This is very cool. Other thing that most people does not realize is that we replaces also the completion. The completion now uses an heuristic completion, obviously, that has some interesting things. The first thing is that it gives you different results depending on where you are. for example, if you are inside this and you type self, it will is something, it will give you first the things that are in the hierarchy where you are editing. It's not going to do something that passes through all the system. Other stuff that is very neat is that if it uses something that if you use some conventions like this, and you start seeing, it also gives you, for example, the methods that are inside a string. If you want to see a test, a proof of this, we can come, let me see here. I'm going to show you in Pharo 8, if I can execute it. This is because Pharo 8 uses an old version of this, but let's open an old. And you can see the results are completely different. And this is our generic results sorted by alphabetically, and the others are something that has to be with a string. This is very neat also. And what else? Well, we have some parser improvements too, but it's hard to show. But basically, if you commit an error, now it gives you the problem where the error is and not marks all. As you see, it marks here the error and does not mark everything as failed. Before it was marking everything as in red, so you didn't understand anything. And that's also very good. Nicola asked why playground instance do not have a number in the title. Just because I didn't thought in that. We could. So yes, but we could add the numbers. The problem is what happens when you open 5 and then you remove the first 3, for example. Well, so we can do that, but we have to think about it. Anyway.
Yeah, I say it only because I remember when I used Squeak, there were numbers by default. I think it was good because, for example, before when you were accessing, copying that variable from a playground to another, I was thinking the way I would have done Squeak, I think, if I remember well, is that I would have accessed the other object and then looked at the global variable inside that object. But okay, now I see that playground don't have a numbers, so how do I access it?
Yeah, you just have 2 levels. You have local, what is from the playground, and you have shared, that is, they are visible for all playgrounds.
No, think this. I mean, think this example. From one playground, suppose I want to kill the other one. How do I do it?
You can't. You can change title. That's true.
It would be better, I think. Yeah. But I close it here.
The other thing is, yes, we could do that, but as I say, we have to decide how to implement it because something that seems super
progressive, I would say.
What?
Progressive.
Yeah, progressive, but then we restart, we don't restart. Then when you have like 844, well, I don't know. So we need to, but indeed, I think there will be there could be a good way to be able to identify the playgrounds. But we can see. Yes, David Bayer, I don't know how to pronounce the name, sorry, asks if the spotter can be scoped. Yes, it can be scoped. I don't have an example to show, but it can be scoped. It uses exactly in fact, it's kind of easier to scope than before, but it uses the same backend as before. And then you can just, you just declare your producers as you want.
Yeah, hi Esteban, this is David. I just wanted to ask you if there is a way to prevent opening multiple system browser windows when you're looking for a new class. I just want to have, for example, 4 or 3 system browsers open, so I don't want to get let's say tons of browsers. So I'm looking for such feature if there is a way just to scope the spotter results to the currently opened system browser. That's the way.
Oh, no,
Probably.
that you should do a producer by yourself. This is not implemented, but
Okay.
it's very easy. Right now, if you have processor, no producer, you extend this, which is a processor. This is where the magic of spotter happens, and then it performs the search as you want. So you can declare that, and you can then enable it in the.
I see.
As you can open a spotter just when the processor that you want, or you can enable or disable it in the configurations.
So all the magic happens here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other question? Can I move to the next point? This is. Ya ahora Nicola. No, Nicola, perché è Nicola Mingiotti. No,
Okay, okay,
Nicola,
no worries. You can move on. It's a minor topic.
we can. I'm always willing to talk of these improvements all the time. Okay. So next, spec. Spec is the next interesting thing that I have to talk tonight. I have 3 things, and spec is the second. Okay, Russ says that okay, it's helpful when I point where is extentful. Yes, I sometimes forget it because, of course, when you have it in the head, sometimes you forget it, but I'm going to try to do it more. So next, I was saying spec. Spec is the next iteration. I don't know if everybody is already aware of this, but the idea is that we need a UI framework able to build our tools, but not just our tools, also to build the desktop applications. For this, we decided to start over from spec 1, but doing a huge revamp, and now it's maybe basically completely other stuff, but with the same original idea, with an API which is more or less, which is similar, but we introduced different stuff. I think the best way to see it is see it in action. And the first thing that you have is a demo. You have a demo that you can open all the time, I think. Oh. Uh-oh. Hello? Yes, I see some movement. So why the... Okay. Okay, that was not, it will not be a demo if it will not be a problem. I don't know. Let me restart this. I don't know why, but okay. So let's start again this Pharo launcher. Up. And let's start again this. Let's come here. Let's open. Let me see if I didn't crash it. Anything? No, it's okay. Oh, okay, this time. I don't know why it didn't show. But then this is a demo that you can see working with. It doesn't have everything that is implemented. It has the most important things. One thing that's important to realize is that spec is not a replacement of Morphic. Spec uses Morphic as a backend, and it will use other backends. Why it will use other backends? Well, I was watching the Morphic presentation by Juan last week, and he was saying, for example, that talking about the non-disadvantage of Morphic, which part of that is that it doesn't have to look native. And he's right. I really like Morphic, and I really like the design original, but then as Juan said, it became old, and then we had the problem that we needed to update Morphic, or we needed to switch to other stuff. Juan did a huge work in Morphic 3, but we took another path. What? Because what for him is not a but for him is a non-issue, and he's right under his constraints, is not correct for us. We need something that is able to deliver native look and feel. Why? Because people still need to do applications that look native, and we need, as we want to we want to make business possible, also we want to make those kind of business possible. So we decided to create a widget layer on top of Morphic and on top of a different backend. In the future, we are moving to a vectorial backend as a block. Why? Because like that, we will be able finally to provide, for example, high DPI resolution that we still cannot, even if Ronnie did a great job. We need to finish it, and that's going to be in Pharo 10. And then we need to also be able to render things kind of like this. For example, what happens if I do voila, and we have the same little thing running in GTK. As you can see, this is the way we do to deliver real desktop applications. So the idea is that you can develop in any frame, in any backend, and then switch to it. But then how we do things. So let me show you an example. This will be how you script it. you create a presenter. You add a layout. Which is, for example, a box. No, let's start with a painted layout. You add first, for example, let's start easy. Then we complete. We are going to include a morph. And for now, nothing else, just to show how it looks. And then the morph, let's add this. The morph will have, let's see, since one other cool thing that we included this version is Rosal. And I have, how was the name? Rosal examples. This guy. We had this guy. Let's take something here. For example, shape examples. I think, well, let's see this. Let's see this one. Ah, I'm stupid. Shape examples. Shape examples, new. Oh. I think this is going to give me a morph, no? Yes. So, and then I do presenter open with spec. Ah, I didn't choose a nice. So since I already did this to present, let me see. This was a better. This is the same, but with a better, with a better thing. And oh, I made a mistake. I show it in GTK. Cool. So as you see, I was trying to do this, and by mistake I opened a GTK image. Okay, but then Aaron Fisher, what is native OS window? This is a native OS window since I'm in Linux. That one, no, the other one. Let me restart here. But native in the sense, technically GTK is just native in Linux. That's the cool thing. But it works very fine in Windows and in Mac. In Mac a little bit worse because Mac is Mac and that, but the styles looks a little bit worse. It works fine, but the style does not look. But in Windows it can be made look exactly. Right now it's doing. Let me restore this so I can continue with my example. See, so we have this, but then we can do something slightly different. Let me see, for example, I add another box, a box layout here to put, for example, a label, shapes, sorry. And then input presenter new number input. for example, and then a button, which is, oh. And of course, if I execute this, it's going to work, but more or less because it doesn't have any values there. So I need to put expander false to all this stuff. Mariano is asking, no, yes, it looks native because it depends on the theme, and there are many impressive themes as they are saying as, oh. So yes, it looks native. So, and then once I have this, I have to put something to the button. And I put an action, which will be this again, but paste, but let me put this here, for example, to do the example more appealing. So I have this, and then I put this. And then I do this. Well, let me do it like this. Then I have the first with 50, but let's put, for example, 10 here. Oh, 10. And that's how you program mixing also a case here. So that's a spec. And thing is, you can do very, 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 very interesting things like this. For example, I have an application I want to show you, which is this. That is what I use, and in open it, of course, in the other window, which I use to work, which is a application, a full application made with Pharo. This is Pharo working. This get things done that did, because it was not doing exactly all what I wanted. I was using things before, but something in Mac, and then I moved to Linux, and then there was some great things, but there are some things in my own workflow that were not covered. For example, I just add tasks that I did without marking there because of different things, and then sometimes I do, you open it the other side, I do pomodoros over a task, and then as you can see here, it marks that I made some pomodoro in these things. In fact, this I finished it today. As I say, I pushed it today, and then I kind of do a lot of things. How I know that I'm doing, as you can see, I opened this by looking for it in the applications, which it has a cool icon that I steal from somewhere, and that. And then, how can I know that I'm in Pharo? Well, I added this thingy that actually opens a playground, which is made in GTK. And of course, I can do different things. I'm going to show this later. And This is an old version, that's why it doesn't have the versions, but it has a full environment running. Not everything is done. The playground works, the inspector works, the debugger somehow works. We are waiting to finish some finite tweaks on the debugger, but it almost works. And then doing a fast moving calypso there will be a thing, but it's kind of working, as you can see. And then you can see what other stuff does. For example, this is mixing Athens to what I cannot touch with it, but this is a component made with Athens, and of course it's completely responsible, as you can see, without problem. This is something that I have to do. Santiago needs to remind me to do it. I always forget it. And then this is that. So this is something made with Pharo, and it's working fine. In general, the memory footprint of this application is 50 megas without cleanup. Now, when it's sitting a little bit more, but because I mixed a lot of things in the same, and then like 5 applications running in the same image, but okay. Which is, these applications are outside the Pharo window. So, because someone asked if this can go out, this is out. This is completely out. And then one thing that allows me to introduce the next step too is that I can also see, this is completely outside. And this is how it works. Then I have a resume, a change log, that is what I send, and I can do a lot of things. So, Bruce asked if there is a window painter. There is not just yet. For GTK, there is Glade, and you can use Glade with Pharo. I made the component, but there is also a builder that is being made by Pavel, and then Hernan is going to work on it, I think. So there will be a builder, but there is not anything that goes outside the declarative for the moment. So, but then let's show the next step. The next step is real headless. And I'm going to do it showing this. Thing is, if you want to do an application that does not show the Pharo IDE, it was not possible before because the VM was moving the. Well, let's stop a little bit. Any questions here? Because I'm going to move to the third issue, and it's going to be it's going to be a change a little bit of route. So Ross says, I missed it. How it is? Is it outside? It's outside because it's in GTK. GTK is different. But I don't know. I don't know if I understand the question. Any other question? No questions? No questions. So as I said, I repeat, I did this, which executes a Pharo application without executing the IDE. I can still use it opening the, I shared this and I didn't want it. But I'm afraid if I touch it too much, it's going to break it, so I'll stop. Okay, Peter asked if I spec work in Linux. I am working in Linux. You are seeing a Manjaro there. You are seeing a Manjaro. But it works also in Windows, which is more interesting for people doing business in general. It works in fact, there is a big company and Pavel is working there doing a huge system with this. In fact, we start to do this because there was a real need in the moment. And then we continue. Other stuff that I wanted to show, and then was, if there is no more questions, oh, please someone say something because I'm starting to feel that I'm alone.
I would say get on to the headless stuff and we can pick up any questions at the end.
Okay, but you are there. That's good. So Christian Heider, it is possible to create a mobile app. What a good question. It depends. It was possible before. This is not because of a spec. What is possible to create, for example, is terminal apps, but okay. Then a mobile app requires other stuff. The VM is going to work now because it's an ARM, and then you need to change some stuff. But that doesn't depend on spec. That's what I say. The VM was already running in iOS and in Android, but there was some problems to make it efficient. But one of the problems to make it efficient is what I'm going to show it right now. So the last thing that I want to show is that this person that I don't know the name, identify as Gaber. What's your name? Sorry. But he was asking first several questions. So before moving on, first, if it is possible to create GTK apps with client-side decoration. I quite do not understand that, but maybe that means with client-side theme. Yes, of course. It is possible. It is possible to have SP web browser to embed web apps. We already have a component that embeds WebKit GTK. So you can have a complete browser running inside your application. But it was experimental because nobody cared about that. I made it to prove that it was possible. Will Glade work with Pharo GTK for creating WYSIWYG interface? Yes, it will. There is already a component made that is not complete because again there was not real need, but it was. Yeah, you can do everything that you can do with GTK with spec, or going directly to the GTK bindings if we are not providing a wrapper. The only thing that you cannot do is to do NEOM extensions because that needs JavaScript, also that will take. But okay, but everything otherwise you can do everything. Next. Okay. How would you write a graphical model? Graham, I'm not quite sure of understanding. If you want to intervene and explain it a little bit better. Graham?
Graham McLeod?
Yeah,
Yes.
hi. I was typing an answer. Yeah, at the moment we define, let's say, graphical objects, let's say boxes, lines, etc., in morphs, and then we create a morphic canvas and we render that. I was wondering, in a GTK world, would that still work exactly the same, or how are you going to handle vector objects in your GTK interface? Can you do real vector objects, or are they still effectively?
GTK provides, if you want to draw your own vector objects, GTK provides you a drawing area, which a Cairo canvas, or yes, it's a Cairo canvas, and you can draw anything you like that. In fact, you can put Athens there, and then, in fact, I can show you. Let me show you this, which is something. It's a game, because the only thing I think that the only way to program things is to do real life problems, and then I solve my own problems with the things I'm programming to prove that this is valid. One of the things I do is to play games, very old games, that is maths. I don't know if someone plays text-based games. I don't know. So well, I'm going to connect this to show, just to show how it works, if the connection allows me. Well, you connected. I'm going to type my very secret password and then enter, and this. Why I'm showing you this? Because of this. This is a complete rewrite of things inside GTK using GTK drawing area and interactive with it perfectly. Yes, I'm such a nerd, I know, because I play this kind of games, but okay. But you have to see this. So you have here GTK components interacting with Athens. In fact, this is drawing Athens using a GTK drawing area. So this, in fact, this is morphic, and you can do a lot. And this here, all of this is a VTE terminal that you can use. And the interest part of things, this is that to execute this, you do not open any real window, not hidden, not initialized but not shown, nothing. There is no morphic word running there. And what's the important for this is because of the memory the footprint. You know, for example, you know that to work, maybe you don't know it, but you know that Pharo uses a heat bit, the VM, which means that each X time it relinquishes the image and it throws an event that even if not happens anything, and it consumes sometimes. Francisco Garau asked, when running a GTK app, if there is an error, where does the debugger show up? Well, in my programs, I redirect the errors to a fuel, and then I show something happen, and if I can continue, I just continue, and if I just crash, I just show a dialogue that something happens, please contact blah, 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 and go out. But you could show a GTK-based dialogue, a GTK-based debugger, sorry, a spec debugger. As I say, it is running, but I just didn't prepare it to show it today because of
Esteban, your Smalltalk API to create the graphics that you've shown in GTK there, are you using Athens? Is that the API that you're using there?
Yes, I use Athens as the backends for what I showed there.
Okay, thank you.
So I was saying, but I'm going to explain it better with this because I have. Let me open another program that I did. you know, I have some notes. I have a note application what I was in Mac. When I moved here, I didn't find someone that I liked, so I programmed my own, which is this. And here I just take my note for example, for the the talk of today, and this is made in Pharo. So this is, as I was saying, it's not showing anything, but I can open this to show that it is, to prove that it is. But the most important thing is that since I using a herewith, I will not using as herewith. I consuming 0% of the well, not quite, because Pharo launcher, this is this, but this is not 0% because I forgot. In fact, I did it in purpose to show something. I forgot to kill one process. So I inspect this, and then I can do something like and then I know that it has the SDL run loop running here in the A, so I can terminate it. I can terminate it without a problem. Up. Let me be sure that I'm terminating it, and then I can close this, and then the most important part of this is this. Here it comes. It starts slowing consuming. This is the one that is marked, the one that we are seeing. It starts to stop consuming, and there it is, 0%. If it is not uses, it does not ticks. It does not hurts. That's what we call the headless idle VM. And this is what you can use in a mobile application to not eat your battery, or in a laptop to not eat your battery, which is what the VM now does. This is the biggest change visible for you from the VM. But probably, well, in fact, probably you will not realize that you are, in fact, improving your stuff like that. But if you're going in a train with the old VM and you use the new VM, you will see immediately that your battery life increases a lot. So the VM, this iteration will go complete headless. The default VM is this headless idle VM. We still need in the image side to work a little bit to complete the cycle. That's why I had to kill the SDL event loop, but the SDL event loop, for example, will run also in pushing mode, which is how it's running the I cannot show it this here, but okay. But the GTK is running there. So how all this is possible? This is possible because there was a lot of work in the VM machinery. And in how we connect with the outside world machinery. The first part is the threaded FFI that is called like that, but in fact it should be called non-blocking FFI that we implement. In fact, it was available for Pharo 8, but we did a lot of work in Pharo. Since I cannot show many of these, I'm just going to show a little bit of the slides, which was kind of, I think, here. So of what we did with the, that was the, well, voilà. Thread FFI. First, so we use libFFI as a backend in our new thread FFI because we need to be able to implement different architectures without needing to re-implement the FFI immediately. But even if we use libFFI, which is available on all the platforms that we want, we actually have the same performance as we had before in the strategy that that executes as the same as before, which is this same thread strategy. The thing is, executing FFI calls. I don't know if you know what is FFI. FFI is foreign function calls, and I'm starting to be a little bit tired, so I'm sorry if I'm a little bit confusing. I'm going back there. Say FFI is foreign function interface, and there are different ways of using it for different different needs. The thing is that the old FFI that we had two very big problems. First, it was executing everything in the same thread because the virtual machine was just same thread. It is still just same thread. It was executing the same thread as the virtual machine, which meant that it was blocking any execution, any query, any FFI execution. It was blocking the interpreter, and so Pharo was stopping to work until the FFI call returns. That means that database accessing, for example, was painful, and a lot of things, other things were painful. For other stuff, which when you need speed, it was okay. So we have this strategy implemented, and some processes are still using it. Then the other strategy is to execute in a separated worker thread. And the worker thread works fine, very fine, especially for database interaction. And when you need to call something that is going to take time, basically, that is going to take some time. The advantage of this is that it's not going to be blocking your interpreter, your image. So you can execute things. And that's how GTK works. GTK uses a subcase of the worker strategy, which is main thread strategy. You basically, what you do is to execute the image in a separated thread and let the main thread reserve for something else. And then you can push things there. And you push the event loop, for example. Then the event loop sleeps and it calls you when it needed. And this is how GTK works. And then if you see, let me see here. When I was calling this, I put worker here. That means that it will execute in a worker thread. That works pretty fine, and it works pretty fine in most of the cases. We still need to finish another strategy, but it's not completely working. So for now, I'm not talking about this. Thanks to this, we can separate the thread and make the image sleep when there are no events. Without this main thread strategy or worker strategy, and the possibility of running an event, the event loop outside, is impossible to not using a polling strategy. And if we use a polling strategy, then we have CPU time consumption all the time. Oh, everybody lost sound, or just Stefan Egerman? Hello?
No, I think it's just Stefan.
Okay. I'm sorry. So we are there. So, and then with this, we started to go work with the virtual machine. The virtual machine has taken a huge work on it, because we needed to control what was happening and to be able to change stuff. One thing we started to fix is ephemerons. Ephemerons now are working. It was not working properly in the previous version. And then we started to implement things that we didn't have before. We have an ARM, the VM for ARM, the JIT, working properly in Windows and Raspbian, and since a couple of days is public now also for the new M1, which is kind of remarkable because the M1 didn't exist when we started working. This is some work that is made by Pablo and Guille. Is very huge work, and it's in part possible because they started to work by adding tests. As I said in the slide, there is more than 3,000 tests added. And if we compare with the situation before, it's kind of an improvement of 3,000%. The fact that there is a test for any bytecode, for any problem, means that when you start to work in another platform, you have fast feedback of what is happening, and then you can work. So there was a lot of problems that were detected thanks of this. So the real improvement in the virtual machine is this: is that now we have a good infrastructure that is able to test everything that is happening in the VM, that it has CI with regression detection. So any change is tested before. And in fact, there is a huge knowledge gained by the Pharo community. It's not just Pablo and Guille working on it. There are some students working on this too, and there are a lot of people that is starting to put their fingers there. So I would like to be able to show something running in ARM, but or something, but I do not have an ARM equipment here. But also the problem with VM is that when it works, you do not see it, which is the purpose. So you cannot show this working because it's yes, it's working. I have my stuff running here. So so I'm kind of there is still another stuff that we did with the VM, which is we made improvements in primitives and IO and different things, but also, and very important, because we had for Mac and Windows, we had since sometimes a distribution model that was satisfying for both platforms. We can distribute sign-in applications and that, and then but it worked fine. But in Linux, it was still lacking because, of course, Linux is kind of a package hell. And then you have different distributions and everything has a different dependency tree on that. And that's so we made some work for implementing Open Building Service, which is, I don't know if you know, but basically you give some set of descriptions on that, which is not so easy as it seems. A set of descriptions still needs you to learn how to package in any platform. But at the end, we have all these platforms running and being able to install Linux virtual machines, Pharo virtual machines in Linux, properly, which is most used there. I'm seeing now that is not ARC listed there, and in fact it's not true because ARC is there because I'm using Manjaro, which is a derivative of ARC, and I'm using that. And so I can testify. So kind of this. We are running fast. I still don't know if we are running twice as fast as needed, but we are running fast. And then yes. ARC is the first. Yes. Oof. Well, I'm told this. almost 2 hours talking and I start to be really tired. So this is the 3 things that I have to talk today, but it was 3 with a little bit of other stuff inside, but okay, 3. I hope more or less it gives you a glimpse of what happens. I forgot to say that, of course, not eating your CPU times is also useful not just for mobile and desktop, but also for server. I know companies that are using some hack using Signal 18 to force sleeping an image, a virtual machine, to not having this problem. And then, oh yes, and then Arturo, you made me lost my. I'm going.
You were talking about server sleeps.
Yes, server sleeps. They're forcing server sleep. Thank you. And imagine if you have a server-side application running, you can have several workers that, in fact, they're going to be sleeping when they are not used, instead of needing to make them sleep by brute force as before, which I think is cool. So, questions? Yeah, David Simons. Yeah, let's start for the FFI uses communicating queues. David Simmons asked, does the DFFI issue an async call across threads, and or does the FFI use async IO queues, etc.? Well, is there a micro task queue and interrupt model? No interrupt model yet. No micro task, but we use a task queue. And we use async IO queues, but that's for the event handling, the IO stuff. That answers more or less, David. Then I continue working, but yes, I forgot completely, because I have it to speak for large image support is very important, because, as I said, just having 64-bit support is not enough to having an efficient system. And then we have made a lot of changes that I'm going to show them. This is here, in fact. As I say, we made all of that. I'm going to just pass from something. We basically, we tested our infrastructure, all our changes, and more than in large images of several gigas. I made myself one of 5-6 gigas, don't remember exactly, with almost 2 million of methods and almost 100 key classes, and that means a lot. And the thing is that it's hard to make smooth the environment like that. Like, for example, Spotter, if you use it, it does a query through the system usually, but we have a full in-image solution that in fact uses trees, uses different algorithms to improve that, and it gives very, very fast answers at the expense of memory, of course, because the indexes needs to be live somewhere. But when you have an image of 4 gigas, you don't care if you have an image of 4 gigas by the indexes. And then also we did, but in fact, the heuristic completion was a work for making this happen, because just making a completion, the previous completion was very naive because it was using all the selectors, which is all the symbols of the image, which can be a lot. And then that was not efficient. It was taking several seconds to show things. And then the message, the senders and implementers also uses these three solutions. And there are a lot of things, just as the price of you installing an application, Metacello baseline, and run and install an index stuff. It's very easy. I could show you, but okay, later, or I don't know. Let me answer other questions. That answer your question, Arturo? So yes, I think Francisco asked me if I answered. Yes, I think I answered. It was the FFI issue answered. Yes, no? Do we have a likely? Well, Graham McLeod asked if do we have a release date? Well, we have a release date, more or less. What will happen is this week I'm freezing, which means that we are going to start bug fixing mode, and normally after that, in 1 month, we are done. So yes, the tentative release date is end of May. Next question, have you used? No, I didn't use it because I didn't want to put the full GTK framework inside the image. We are just also because it's really hard to translate everything, but especially because I didn't want everything inside the image. Again, I repeat the question because I don't know. There is a question that if I use the G-object introspection to create buildings of 2GTK, I was saying no, I didn't use it. I didn't use it because I don't want to put the full GTK inside the image. That's the reason. So at the end, we will see if it was a good or bad idea, but for now it's working very fine. Peter, if there is .NET integration on the roadmap, will it be viable to create headless VM to execute on the .NET runtime? So there is two questions. The first is no, it's not in the roadmap because not because we do not want it, but because that means resources, and these resources that for now we do not have. The first step is to finish the GTK backend, which is already good for most of the cases, and then later see if we can, if we need more. What we can do, we have a proof of concept done, is to embed .NET components inside GTK, but it's kind of a hack. So I will not say that that will work fine all the time, but we can do that. Ciao, Nicola. What is used instead of pragmas for what? Christian Heider asked, what is used instead of pragmas? For what? We try to reduce the use of pragmas in general because...
Well, you said for the large image, you removed the use of pragmas in menus and commands. So what are you doing instead?
No, in fact, what we have is, we have an index for pragmas too. They are indexed. So that's the thing.
You implement pragmas in a different way, but you still have pragmas so that people can add things to menus dynamically.
Yeah. No, we didn't implement it pragmas in a different way. You can still use it. What happens in large image is that you have the pragmas are indexed, and then the access to the pragmas happens differently. But your pragmas are still the same and works exactly the same. That's answers?
Yeah, I would say that answers the question.
Yeah, there is any news about GVM Cilier vacancies. Who mentioned that in that talk? I don't know which one is that. Let me see which talk is before you continue. Oh, right now you ask for because that's not part of the core team work. That's something to ask to Dave Mason, I imagine. Which that was, yes, I remember that talk, but I didn't remember that he talked about that. Todd asked if do we expect 2 to be feature complete at release. Let's say this, Spec 2 is already feature complete with the features that we'll have at release. What means is that, yes, there will be always needs to add stuff and that, but for now we are quite happy with what we have. And then we are going to release with what we have. There will be new releases. For example, we know that we need, and we do not have now, a flow layout, for example, and then we will need to implement it. Oh, yes. And then, so for the release of Pharo 9, Spec 2 will have its 1.00 version. That's for sure. That doesn't mean that it will have everything that everybody will want to have in the future and the future. We will need to continue working and improve and have stuff. As I was saying, at least the flow layout, we know that we will need it, even if I don't think it matches completely the desktop world, but some people uses it, some it will be need. Then I continue reading. So yes, a few FFI strategies. Yes, there is Santiago put a link. Thank you for that, because I'm tired and I forgot about that. Is the VM fork permanent, and or are the plans to contribute back upstream to Open Smalltalk? Eric Gate asked that. We are not happy to have a fork, because let's be honest, in the practice is that, because nobody is contributing in none of the ways. But we work in a way so differently that I do not see we coming back anytime soon, or the opposite either. So thing is, we cannot we made efforts to work together, but we have different goals and different ways of working, and that generated some problems that I would like to avoid. That's the truth. Then we do not have problem on sharing our stuff, but sharing our stuff right now will mean a lot of work. Sharing stuff, being us who do the pull requests in a compatible way for them will be. What we have is that our branch is public and they can take our changes. Our changes are also public and well commented, so I don't know. It's a sad situation. I will not say that I'm happy, but I do not see how it is evitable right now. Any plan for a formal LTS model for Pharo 9? It's a good question, and I wanted, and you know, I wanted it, but right now we do not have enough resources to sustain it. But I have some ideas I want to work on to allow that for having a formal LTS model.
It is worth saying, Esteban, for everyone listening, you know, if you're not a Pharo consortium member or one of the personal members, you know, your contributions help with the cause for resources, etc. So I think that is a call to remind everyone, you know,
yes,
if you like the project, contribute in many ways, either money or, you know, time and effort, bugs fixing or PRs, because I think we all do, yes, you know, appreciate all the hard work that you guys do as well. So I think, you know,
I'm
it's
going
worth
to
saying that
now because I prefer to see you, and I have nothing else to show. Okay, yeah, it's a question about resources. If I want it, it's something that is in my roadmap, but I want it. I cannot say more than that. So. Timas, the Windows switcher was removed. It was old and clunky. Is there replacement or an easy keyboard way to switch? What is the keyboard switcher? Ah, the one that
like control tab, or you know, alt left arrow, or just some easy way to jump between windows. It drives me crazy.
To be honest, it is not removed. It's just not working.
Yeah. Okay.
You have the windows in the spotter.
So
if you do Shift Enter, the first thing that you have is the list of windows open.
Yeah.
And then you have the preview, and that works. That works. I'm not saying it's the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I wondered if that was the case. So it's like Shift Enter, down arrow, Enter, and that will at least let you jump back. But it's quite a few keystrokes.
But
it'd be nice to get Mirage to work again.
Honestly, it's there and it's not working, and I don't know why it's working. And my guess is because it's so deep in morphic layers.
Right. Yeah.
That in a moment, but I would like to have it again. It was useful.
Yeah, so, just an easy way to just jump between at least the last window.
Sometimes I get it working, but it's just yeah. If there is
resources and contributions, I know it's. I keep meaning to have a look at that one as well. Anyway, good tip on the spotter one. I'll try that.
Okay, but yes, we can. If there is an issue, we can work in a sprint to try to have it back. It should not be so hard, but the problem is that in fact there is a collision.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing. But if the spotter works, I do not understand why the Alt tab or an equivalent will not.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, good point. Okay, maybe some digging to do. I'll have a look.
So yes, but maybe we need to re-implement it with spec, for example, and that.
I actually implemented that for. At least for macOS, it works with the command and backtick, which is the switch within an application. So maybe, I don't know, it's committed and everything.
Share where you did it. I'd love that. That would work for me.
Yeah, I'll just post the link here. It works in Pharo 8. I haven't tried in Pharo 9, but yeah, it's possible. Nice. At least I know. And that and jumping between words and some other stuff.
Nice. Nice.
Yes, that's true. If it is good, we could adopt it and drop the other. David Simmons, yes, we do not. That's what's the other that I didn't want to talk. David Simmons asked if Pharo 9 is using the GIL VMFFI model. No, it is not, because it had a lot of problems. It was just a prototype. It was not working. Guille worked a lot on it. It has it almost working, but it's not yet there. We want to have it because we want to provide a fourth strategy, because as I say, there is no one strategy that works for everything. but this is not yet ready, and it's not going to be for Pharo 9, and we don't be probably for Pharo 10. The same. The Pharo 9 works with the new VM. It will work with the COG VM, but there will be a lot of functionality that will be lost. Like, for example, it will not be headless, and FFI will probably not work. But all the rest, yes, I do not see why not. Text editing shortcuts. I haven't looked at, but it's a pain that text editing shortcuts. I agree, but they are not implemented yet. They are implementable. Now with the new, in spec it's easier because you have a high level definition, so you can define your key bindings there instead going deep into rubric to do it. So you could do it more or less easy. Anyone could do it, so, but it's not done because it's a lot of work. Not that. It's a lot of work what we have. I have a lot of work, and we cannot implement all the things that we want. David Simons always that is an ideal target model to cover all scenarios, but that's quite not true. I can point you to several papers saying the opposite. That's true. That has a problem, but in fact, the GIL model has a problem where you have to switch a lot of context. That is quite slower than the other strategies. And then, it's fast when you do not have too much change. That's true. Yeah, but yes, it works. Like I say, in fact, the OR preliminary numbers will say that it is kind of a little bit more efficient than the worker strategy. But again, it's different, and it works for different stuff. Yeah, I know that it can work, but I'm not saying that it's the only. I know that it can work, but okay. Ciao, Dario. I know that it can work, but it's a strategy. Eventually, we will have it. For now, we don't. And what we had before was an early prototype of the GIL, but it was not working. And making it work, it was a lot of work, and we needed to. And since our needs were kind of covered with what we had, we needed to work to jump to other stuff. Oh well. Again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't. Say that is not the only possible model, and there are different strategies.
Has anyone got any nice, easy questions for Esteban? He's been talking for 2 hours, and I feel very sorry, and I appreciate all the time you've spent with us. What's your favorite feature in P9? Like, which bit are you most proud of? Just as a, you've done a lot of stuff. Is there something that stands out as being I really liked that. I'm really proud we did that bit.
Personally, I've been working all this year in GTK and the spec and the GTK backend, in both backend, but especially in GTK. So I'm kind of happy that I finally can do applications that look good and that behaves good. I quite sure that when we are able to run also the Pharo IDE also in GTK, it will be important, especially at least for newcomers. But then that's all.
I drove it home, seeing your.
No, but I really, since I've been talking a lot of years about headless and idle VM, that's the second favorite. Also because one is not possible without the other, to be honest. So that those both things, but yeah, I don't know. I took a list and a lot, and I still have a list of things that I want to do for the next version. For example, I want to improve modularization so I can split better Pharo, so I can start to curate better the packages, so I can eventually think in a long-term support, for example. And then also I would like to be able to build images on the fly. But we're talking about what I'm happy with, what I have now, with what I will want to have. But I always want a little bit more. Plans for GTK4 is another question. Yes, I think I'm going to. I'm waiting to have. Honestly, we use GTK source view in the GTK backend a lot, and I was waiting to having GTK source view done in GTK4 to be able to move there. Eventually, yes, and probably some point. It's not hard, and probably some point in Pharo 10. It's not hard because I already made part of the backend taking into account the changes that were coming for GTK4. So I think it's going to be 1 month work, something like that. Maybe less, it depends, but like always, there is always something that happens. So I will say 1 month. Yeah, it's already almost done, yes, but I was expecting this, but no. Alex asks if the default distribution of Pharo 10 will be GTK first or Morphic first. There are no plans to do a default distribution on GTK first. What I would like to have is having a download Pharo GTK as there is Pharo now, but that's for my taste, something that we didn't talk about that, but there are no plans for the moment. Also, the next step is to start to work in the block backend, and then that will be a lot of work, but we'll see. The 2 distributions means twice of work. I prefer to just have 1 distribution and be able but I want to be able to build an image without Morphic and just GTK. That yes. And that will happen. Even if maybe Pharo itself will not use it, I think a lot of users will. Yeah, I missed it. No, there are no plans, but yeah, no, there are no plans because no, I quite not like that, but even if I would like it or not, it's not my call because the real minds behind this, in that part at least, are Stefan Marcus, and they made a lot of experiments with that, but no, at the end, no.
Any plans of getting proper test coverage as in something that can give me how much of each method is actually covered by tests?
Yeah, I think there are coverage. Maybe it was faulty.
No, it's just on off, right? So if I have a method that has got multiple paths, right? You know,
Yeah.
if true false, and then if true is false, and then if I have a test that sends that message, then I get that the method is covered. Well, actually, it might only be covered for one of the parts inside. I would like something a little bit more granular.
Hmm.
So I can say that
Yes,
method will be
okay.
covered by
I
50%.
think that's doable in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
So we need to see how to do it, but I didn't. It's the first time that I heard that this was an it, so I didn't think about it. But I feel it is doable. It doesn't feel like a huge amount of work. So again, about the optional typing, this could greatly improve auto-completion and allow for some optimizations. Yeah, but in fact, for improved auto-completion, I'm going more in the type inference side. And then if I will implement some optional typing or something, I will implement in the way of that is implemented by Hernan Wilkinson and his team, which is gradual typing. I don't remember how he called it, but it was quite cool, and that feels useful. In fact, more than actually typing, I have a strong feelings against typing, to be honest. But again, there are other ways of improving auto-completion. I'm more in the type inference part for that. And some optimizations, yes, but for now we are going to work in optimize through Sista, I'm so tired, I don't remember the name. The adaptive compiler, and then we will see. So
I think we are, David Simmons has got a few more notes about strong-told or S-sharp style optional type annotations or just annotations in general. Yeah. Okay. And then what the size of Hello World headless VM GTK application on the disk? How much space on the disk does it
in memory footprint, you're asking?
I think it's disk footprint. Is it, we talk about 100 megabytes, 25 megabytes, 5 megabytes?
Without any optimization, just download the image. Right now, I don't have anyone to talk it, but to show it. But without any cleanup of the image, because you could always start from the minimal image and just load what you need to get to GTK and spec. With a regular image, with spec GTK installed, you have 50 megas around, a little bit less, but this present 48 megas, for example, because it needs to run the image. In fact, is
Okay. So when I think we can close here, because Esteban has been talking for quite a long time. So I am going to stop the recording now after thanking one more time Esteban for the presentation.
I hope you enjoyed. I was glad to be here. It was great. Great to see the faces. Great to see Juan there. That is still there. Oh, Craig. Ciao. And then, yeah, I hope everything everything was okay. And I'm tired, I recognize. It's been a lot of times and I do not speak to 2 hours in a row.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.